Hi, I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and this is your AstroTarot presentation for the coming week, Leo. I thank you for joining me, and I want to let you know that you are very welcome. For those of you who are regular viewers, you are already familiar with the format of these sessions, but for the new people, I'd just like to make it clear what happens, and I start by choosing a sign of the zodiac, then consider the highlights of the planets and celestial bodies and their movements before moving on to look at how those may impact on you over the coming 7 days. And then finally, I choose 3 tarot cards and interpret the messages that they carry for you and your zodiac sign. So, let's start off by looking at the planetary aspects to get a general feel for what's in store. However, I'm not falling back into the trap of going through the full list of aspects, but the overview is there are 5 oppositions this week, all of which involve the moon. There are 2 sextiles, 3 squares, 2 of which centre around the moon, 5 transits, 4 of which involve the moon, and 5 trine, all of which involve the moon. So in total there are 20 aspects, of which 16 involve the moon. And the thing to bear in mind is that the moon acts as a trigger for the interactions between the planets and their host signs and or astrological houses. So, the highlights for the coming week include, at the beginning of the week, or near the beginning of the week, we will be having a full moon taking place in Virgo, and that makes us analytical, maybe even critical. We're productive and have an eye on our health. Our focus will be mainly centred on clearing our to-do lists in order to get tasks behind us, but also so we can enjoy a feeling of achievement. Quite right too. A couple of days later, the moon moves into Libra, and that helps us to feel cheerful and open-minded. It also underscores the desire for harmony in and around us. Our focus will be centered on love and partnerships, including having romantic feelings and wanting to spend quiet time with our significant other. Also well aspected is meeting new people, and it's great now that we're able to start socialising more freely. It's much easier to move forwards, I think. At the end of the week, the sun moves into Aries, triggering one of the most important astrological events of the year. That is the vernal or spring equinox. And that has a number of meanings. First off, it's the end of the astrological calendar and prepares us for the entry of Aries. Also, the pagan festival of Ostara happens at this point, and that's all about celebrating new life and the earth coming out of its dormant period. Also, Ostara became the foundation of the Christian festival of Easter. One thing I should point out is that I'm based in the Northern Hemisphere, so our spring equinox will be the autumn or fall equinox for people south of the equator. On the same day, the moon progresses into Scorpio, and that gives us intense energy, passion, sensuality, and impulsiveness. However, there may also be a tendency to become involved in arguments and possibly even revenge situations. There could also be a strong sense that we want to experience something new, and why not? We're being surrounded by new things. So let's have some fun along the way. Also, we can look forward to a good pairing between Mercury and Uranus. Unfortunately, it only lasts for about a day, so make the most of it. It encourages us to be progressive, energetic, creative, and unconventional, actively rejecting traditional views and practices. On top of that, our intuitive skills will be stronger, and Mercury, the planet controlling all forms of communication, will support our speech and original quick thinking. We're also likely to cope well with technology and number-based changes. So, what does that mean for you, Leo? There's a lot of stuff going on, that's for certain. But you are one of the boldest zodiac signs. You're intelligent, you're warm, and you're a natural leader, ready to blaze ahead, get rid of injustice where you find it, and you wouldn't say no to a little bit of public recognition, should it be given. You thrive, long for social interactions. And in my experience of Leo people, you can talk for the world. You really can. But you're not always easy to tie down to specific arrangements. You have a passion about you that you take into relationships. You certainly include it in anything that you're involved with. You tend not to have a narrow, cliquey sort of group of friends. You like to include everyone that you can. And all in all, that natural leader, you can use that to inspire others to do their best, to be the best that they possibly can. However, learning to be quiet and listen can sometimes be quite challenging for you. And a lot of people would say that Leo children, people, are very self-centered. Not true. Not true at all. You might want to be in the center of attention, but your concern is very much very much focused on what is going on with people that you know. You can be unbelievably generous, desperately wanting to help people who might be struggling for whatever reason. And you work hard. You like to have a comfortable life, at least in your own home. You like sparkly, bold statement pieces, accessories, clothing, furniture, decor. But hey, you've earned the money. Spend it on what makes you feel good. Okay, that's enough about all that. Let's have a look at the cards. Now, I feel I've really got to focus and pull out exactly the right cards for you. Because I also know that if it's not coming out right, it can send you into a tailspin. So, let's have a look. There's one. There's two. And I've got four that want to come out and play. Here's that one. Okay. So, lovely. Okay, the first card turned over is the Six of Swords. That is all about moving on, moving forwards, possibly even indicating that you may venture abroad over water. It's predominantly, though, looking at leaving the past behind, not dwelling on things that maybe didn't go quite as well as they could have done. But don't forget, it hasn't all been bad. So allow yourself to celebrate the good things as well. Now, second card, the one in the middle, is the moon. And I cannot possibly read this in a negative way. Okay. Traditionally, it's seen that there's subterfuge, something not quite right going on, or secrets are about to be revealed. However, because the moon is my leader, my ruling planet, it draws my attention to the way that it can affect your emotions. And it's important to bear that in mind. And the nearer to a full moon that we become, the more intense the moon's influence will be. However, at the start of the moon phase, when the moon is new, the intensity is lessened, but it is still very, very powerful, because as the moon grows, so your wishes and intentions can grow also. So don't be afraid of your moods or your emotions. It's all there for a reason. And then finally, the one that I was really, really pleased to see is the Ace of Cups. And that, again, is all about emotions, but in particular, it's about abundance, and quite literally, your cup is overflowing. There's a lot of good stuff coming towards you, including love. And I feel that really strong, especially now that we're coming out the other side of the pandemic, I hope. Hi, I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and this is your AstroTarot presentation for the coming week, Virgo. I thank you for joining me, and I want you to know that you are very welcome. For those of you who are regular viewers, you're probably already very familiar with the format. But for the benefit of anyone new, I'd just like to outline how I see this working. So I choose a specific sign of the zodiac and consider the highlights that are produced by the planets and celestial bodies before moving on to look at how those aspects may impact on you over the coming 7 days. And finally, I select 3 tarot cards and interpret the messages that they carry with them for you and indeed for your zodiac sign. So let's start off by looking at the planetary aspects to get a general feel for what's in store. And you'll probably be very relieved to hear that I will not be working through the full list of aspects. Done that, didn't like it, coming away from doing it that way anymore. But a general overview sees us looking at 5 oppositions, all of which involve the moon. 2 sextile, not involving the moon. 3 squares, and 2 involve the moon. 5 transits, 4 of which involve the moon. And 5 trine, all of which involve the moon. So in total there are 20 aspects, of which 16 involve the moon. And as I said before, the moon acts as a trigger for the interactions between the planets and their host signs, or astrological houses. The highlights for the coming week include, almost at the beginning of the week, we'll be seeing a full moon taking place in Virgo, and that is probably going to make us feel very analytical and even critical. We're productive at that time, and we're keeping an eye on our health. Our main focus is likely to be on working through our to-do lists so that we can complete the tasks included on it, but also so that we can enjoy the feeling of achievement. And why not? A couple of days later, the moon moves into Libra, and that should help us to feel more cheerful and open-minded. It reinforces the feeling for attaining harmony in and around us. at that time, our main focus will be centered on love and partnership, including having romantic feelings and wanting to spend quiet, quality time with our significant other. Also well aspected is the opportunity to meet new people. And I just want to pick up on the fact that COVID restrictions pretty well everywhere across the globe are being relaxed. So, socializing is going to be a lot easier than it has been for 2.5 years. And I dare say some of us, and I know I have lost our social skills, or a lot of them. So, don't hold yourself back. Get out there, arrange parties, celebrations, meetups with friends, old and new, trip to the pub, restaurant, barbecue if the weather's good enough. It'll all help. Then moving on to the end of the week, the Sun moves into Aries, triggering one of the most important astrological events of the year, the vernal or spring equinox, where day and night are equal in length. But on top of that, it has a number of significant meanings. Not least, it marks the end of the astrological calendar. So Pisces is eased out and makes space for Aries to come storming in. It's also a time that the pagan community celebrate the festival of Ostara, which acknowledges that the earth is coming out of its dormant period and the birth of new life, not just in the animal kingdom, but the leaves coming out on the trees, flowers starting to break out again, mainly on the trees at that point, but nature waking up and taking notice and action. Also, Ostara became the foundation for the Christian festival of Easter. Okay, the fundamental messages are different, but the symbolism is very, very close. One thing I ought to say, though, for our Southern Hemisphere viewers, is that I am based in the Northern Hemisphere. So, for south of the equator, you're looking at the autumn equinox and the onset of autumn, fall, and turning into winter. On the same day as the equinox, the moon moves into Scorpio, and that gives us intense energy, passion, sensuality, and impulsiveness. But be aware, there may also be a tendency to become involved in arguments or, dare I say, revenge situations. However, there could also be a strong sense of wanting to experience something new. And again, it's not surprising after the past 2.5 years that we've endured. So, as the restrictions ease, get out there, go exploring, go travelling, satisfy that wanderlust. Also, we can look forward to a favourable pairing between Mercury, the planet governing communication in all its forms, thought, learning, and Uranus, which is the planet of change. However, it only lasts for just over a day. But the energies that are being given off encourage us to be progressive and energetic, creative and unconventional. In fact, actively rejecting traditional views and practices. Our intuitive skills will be stronger, and Mercury will support our speech and original quick thinking. We're also likely to cope well with technology and number-based challenges. That's me stuff then. Okay, so what does it all mean for you, Virgo? I've talked about Mercury being in charge of communication, and Mercury is your ruling planet. So you will be very sensitive to those energies, and it supports the view that you are smart, sophisticated, and, most importantly, in my opinion, kind. You're not one to shirk getting your hands dirty, getting involved with whatever needs to be done. You're also amazing friends, you Virgos, and that's going to be very important when it comes to meeting new people. You're always there to lend a hand or give advice if it's asked for. However, you are a hard taskmaster. You expect perfection from yourself, and that is often projected onto people around you, which could lead to them feeling pressured. You love and strive for beauty, considering what you wear and how you decorate your house to be an extension of your personality. You have a love of learning, and you love trying out new things. You'll read books and learn about the world at large. It's all very positive, and harmonious surroundings are very important, or viewed to be very important by you Virgos. But just bear in mind that frustration can follow you around when you try to get that very high standard from everyone who is involved around you. You can actually put together a beautiful home, and it comes naturally, and that contributes to keeping your mood optimistic, upbeat. As I said before, you're a hard worker, you don't mind getting your hands dirty, and you're someone that every boss would love to have. Someone who gets on with things, without complaint. As I said before, you're always ready to lend a hand to those who need it. You're funny, but you don't always let your humour shine through. People tend to think you're very serious, but once people get to know you, they really appreciate your humour and the way that you use that to encourage people to move forwards. And research is one of your favourite hobbies. You love learning for learning's sake. So, make the most of those skills. Definitely. Now I'm going to choose 3 tarot cards, if I can remember where I've put them, and deal them out and have a look at them, see what messages they carry for you. Okay, all right, I'm doing it. It's all right, my guides have been nagging me all the time. Split the deck, split it, do it now. Yeah, I think I've got the message. Oh, that one, and that's 2 and 3. Okay, so let's turn these over, and we start out with the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups is very much about creativity, not just in using your hands, but also with your thought processes, and you're a past master at that. So don't hold yourself back. Let that creativity come through. Celebrate it. And then in the middle, we've got the 3 of Wands, which is acknowledging your ability to plan ahead, to look to the future, to plan your next moves, your next set of goals. And you're very good at using that information to come up with an action plan. How are you going to put it into practice? You're practical. You will find a way. And your final card is the Empress. Similar to the Ace of Cups, I know. But it's very much about remembering to be compassionate, to feel for other people's feelings. You can very often get wrapped up in your own little world of thoughts. Don't be afraid to just pause, hold yourself back, and think how it could impact on other people. Hi, I'm Lunarcraft and Psychic Truth, and this is your AstroTarot presentation for the coming week, Libra. I thank you for joining me, and I want you to know that you are very welcome. For those of you who are regular viewers, you're already quite familiar with the format that these sessions follow. However, for the new people here, just to explain, I choose a specific sign of the zodiac and consider the highlights from the planets and celestial bodies before moving on to look at how those may impact on you over the coming 7 days. And finally, I'll be selecting 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages that they contain for you. And indeed your star sign. So let's start off by looking at the planetary aspects just to get a general feel for what's in store. Again, you can be relieved I'm not going to work through the full list of aspects, but the overview is that there will be 5 oppositions, all of which involve the moon, 2 sextiles, 3 squares, 2 involving the moon, 5 transits, 4 that involve the moon, and 5 trine, all involving the moon. So in total, there are 20 aspects to consider, of which 16 involve the moon, which, as I've indicated in the past, often acts as a trigger for the interactions between the planets and their host signs or astrological houses. So, the highlights for the coming week include, near the beginning of the week, we'll be seeing a full moon in Virgo, and that is likely to have the effect of making us analytical, perhaps even critical. We're productive and conscious of our health. Our main focus will be on working through our to-do lists to complete tasks and then go on to enjoy the feeling of achievement. And why not? You'll have worked hard for it, very hard. A couple of days later, the moon moves into your star sign, Libra, and that will help us to feel cheerful and open-minded. It reinforces the desire for harmony in and around us. Focus is probably going to be centered on love and relationships, partnerships, including having romantic feelings and wanting to spend quiet time with your significant other. Also well aspected is the opportunity to meet new people. And that links back to, a lot of restrictions being lifted finally, and being able to get out there and start socialising again. So, hey, let's make the most of it while we can. The end of the week sees the sun entering Aries, and that triggers one of the most important astrological events of the year, the vernal or spring equinox, where day and night are of equal length. But in addition to that, it has a number of meanings. Can't think of a better word than that. For a start, it marks the end of the astrological calendar. It's also the date on which the pagan festival of Ostara is celebrated, to mark the end of the Earth's dormant period and the birth of new life. In fact, Ostara became the foundation of the Christian festival of Easter. Different messages, but a lot of the symbolism is the same. However, I should point out that I'm based in the Northern Hemisphere. So, for those of you south of the equator, you will be anticipating the autumnal or fall equinox. On the same day, the moon progresses into Scorpio, and that should give us intense energy, passion, sensuality, and impulsiveness. And who can blame us after the last 2.5 years, I mean to say. However, just be aware that there could be a tendency to become involved in arguments, perhaps even revenge situations. But alongside that, there could also be a very strong sense that we want to experience something new. And again, I'm going back over the past 2.5 years where we've not been able to get out there and explore. We've not been able to travel. So, even just going out for a drink with friends or coffee or whatever, it's all new stuff because the world has changed. And there's also a favourable pairing between Mercury, the planet of communication and thought and learning, and Uranus, planet of change. It lasts for about 1 day, so make the most of it. The energies that will be given off encourage us to be progressive, energetic, creative, and unconventional. In fact, actively rejecting traditional views and practices. And hey, we wouldn't have evolved. We wouldn't be where we are now if people had stuck to the rules rigidly. Our intuitive skills will be even stronger, and Mercury will support our speech and original quick thinking. We're also likely to cope well with technology and number-based challenges. That's me out on both levels then. Oh dear. Okay, it's time now for me to choose 3 tarot cards, and I'll have a look at the messages that they hold for you. So just give them a good shuffle. Make sure that they're running freely. Which, yes, they are. Okay. It's all right, my guides are here saying split pack, which I've done. So, 3 cards. 1, 2, and 3. Now, turning those over, what have we got? Okay. What I'm going to do now is try and tie astrological information into the tarot cards. It's new. Let's see how it goes, eh? So, in the first position, we've got the 8 of Pentacles. And that fits very well for you, Libra, because you like to get things right. You like to aim for perfection. You are not a perfectionist, but you always want to do the best that you possibly can. So, it may mean doing something over and over and over again until you really have it seated firmly in your memory. It's not to make you bored, I promise you. And as soon as you've cracked it, you can move on, knowing that you've got that, firmly within you. In the middle position, you've got the Three of Cups. And that is all about celebration. Celebrating your achievements, celebrating life itself, celebrating with others. And that is going to get so much easier as the restrictions are lifted, eased. We can now go and socialise again. And I'm pretty certain that many of us have actually lost those social abilities. They will come back, but they need to be practiced. So again, it links back to that first card, the Three of Pentacles. Your final card for this week is the Two of Wands. And that is here as a reminder, first and foremost, that you can do anything that you set your mind to. The only true restriction on you is that you put on yourself, your imagination. The world is quite literally your oyster, so do really, really try to make the most of it. It also links back to the fact that we've not been able to go exploring or visit new places. But you don't have to travel in order to visit new places. Yeah, I am balmy, but not on this occasion. I'm just thinking about my daughter who uses Google Maps to explore different places, and she's most put out at the moment because she can't have a look round any Russian cities because of the conflict and the fact that Google aren't supporting things in Russia. She's desperate to find out more about Russia. But the places she's visited have been phenomenal, and she's loved every second of it. And it hasn't cost her a penny. Even better. Okay, so that's all from me this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll be back next week, same place, same time, and I truly hope that you will be able to join me again. But in the meantime, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. All that's left for me to say is bye-bye. Hi, I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and this is your AstroTarot presentation for the coming week, Scorpio. I thank you for joining me and want you to know that you are very welcome to be here. For those of you who are regular viewers, you're probably already very familiar with the format that these sessions take. But for the sake of the new people, I would like to just give an overview that I choose a specific sign of the zodiac and consider the highlights from the planets and celestial bodies before moving on to look at how those may impact on you over the coming 7 days. And finally, I'll be selecting 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages they have for you and for your zodiac sign. So, let's have a look at the planetary aspects to get a general feel for what's in store. You'll be very relieved to hear I will not be working through the full list of aspects. Done that, been there, don't want to do it again. But just as an overview, then we're looking at 5 oppositions, all of which involve the moon, 2 sextiles, 3 squares, 2 involving the moon, 5 transits, 4 with the moon, and 5 trine, all of which involve the moon. So in total there are 20 aspects, of which 16 involve the moon, which, as I've said in previous deliveries, the moon acts as a trigger for the interactions between the planets and their host signs or astrological houses. The highlights for the coming week include, almost at the beginning of the week, the full moon will take place in Virgo, and that's likely to make us somewhat analytical, perhaps even critical. We will be very productive and keep an eye on our health. Our main focus will be on working through our to-do lists to complete tasks and, subsequently, to enjoy the feeling of achievement. And why not? Celebrate everything you can. A couple of days later, the moon moves into Libra, and that helps us to feel cheerful and open-minded. It also underscores the desire that we have for harmony in and around us. Now our focus will be centered on love and partnership, including feeling romantic and desiring to spend quiet, quality time with our significant other. Also well aspected is the opportunity for us to meet new people. And let's be honest, due to the pandemic and all the restrictions, we've not had that opportunity to socialise that much. And I know on my side, I've lost a lot of my social skills. So I'm well aware that I would need to get out there, get mixing with people again, and relearn the art of conversation. So don't hold yourselves back. Organise a barbecue. Better weather's on its way, hopefully. Arrange to meet up at the pub, a restaurant. Organise celebrations for events, special events, birthdays, weddings, whatever. Just get on and do it. Then, going forward to the end of the week, the sun moves into Aries, and that triggers one of the most important astrological events of the year, the vernal or spring equinox, where day and night are of equal lengths. But on top of that, it has a number of significant meanings. Not least of all, it marks the end of the astrological calendar. Out goes Pisces, nice and gentle, and in storms, Aries. All good fun. Also, the equinox is celebrated by the pagan community in the festival known as Ostara. And it's celebrating the fact that the earth is waking up again, coming out of its dormant period. Also, celebrating new life, not just in the animal kingdom, but also within nature generally, with trees producing their leaves and blossom, bees getting busy doing what bees do, and just generally activity starting up again. Ostara also became the foundation of the Christian festival of Easter. Note the similarity in name. And although the basic message for each of the festivals is different, indeed, the symbolism is very, very similar. Now, before I forget, I'm based in the Northern Hemisphere, but for those of you who are south of the equator, you're looking forward to the autumn equinox and the onset of autumn, fall, and progressing into winter. On the same day as the equinox, the moon moves into Scorpio, giving us intense energy, passion, sensuality, and impulsiveness. But bear in mind that there's also a likelihood that we could become involved in arguments and even revenge situations. Alongside of that, we're also likely to feel that we want to spread our wings, experience something new. And again, after the last 2.5 years, when travel has been curtailed, when, as I said before, socialization has not been possible, then of course we want to get out there and travel and explore and have some adventures. If you can afford it, if you can get the time off, then go for it, because you don't want it to be something that you regret later on in life. And also, there's a favourable pairing between Mercury, who is in charge of communication, learning, thought, and Uranus, the planet of change. Now, the pairing will only last for just over a day, but the energy encourages us to be progressive, energetic, creative, and somewhat unconventional. In fact, actively rejecting traditional views and traditional practices. And let's be honest, without pushing at those boundaries, we wouldn't have anything that we take for granted nowadays. It's all had to be dreamt up, invented, created. So, don't feel guilty if someone says, oh, but we've always done it this way. That doesn't matter. That doesn't enter into it. Also, our intuitive skills will be stronger and supported by Mercury, particularly for speech and any original quick thinking that we might have. Also, we're very likely to be able to cope well with technology and number-based challenges. Doesn't help me. I used to have the right sort of mind for it, but as technology has progressed, so my skills have taken a nosedive. But I have a daughter, and she's very technically minded, so it's a case of shouting her when things go wrong. Okay, so how does it all relate to you? Scorpio people are passionate, independent, unafraid to blaze a new trail. You make a statement wherever you go. But Scorpio people can seem intimidating and somewhat closed off. A bit like Cancerians, you've got the crustacean shell around you, and you have a sting in your tail at times. So people do tend to see you as being somewhat mysterious, someone a bit standoffish. But when people give you the opportunity to show what the true you is, you become probably the most loyal friend and indeed dedicated employee. And on the shadow side, the dark side, you can also be someone's worst enemy if they've, in your opinion, have deserved that. But you're another one of the water signs, and you know deep down that it's all right to cry. You try to seem tough, but you do have a vulnerable side. But you need to trust people before you let that show. You're also very full of empathy. So again, like the other two water signs, Pisces and Cancer, you're very good at reading a room and picking up on how people are feeling. You're passionate and you know what you want and you go after it. No questions asked. You're not easily intimidated, and if you see injustice taking place, you won't pass it by. You will speak up. You have a unique sort of sense of humour as well. Not afraid to say what other people are thinking. And you can be somewhat cynical. But you're smart and funny, so you get away with it. And when you fall in love, there's no stopping you because you've broken down those trust barriers. You've opened the world up for yourself. Right. Time now to choose 3 tarot cards and see what messages they have for you and your star sign. So, all right. Oh, they're nagging at me again, my guides. Don't forget to cut the deck. Split the pack. Okay, right, 1. And, oh, that one, definitely. 2. And, that one. Right, let's turn these over and see what we've got. Okay, nice. The very first card to be turned over is the Five of Swords, which is a bit of a double-edged sword, in fact, because it shows that you take time before you trust people. People need to earn your trust, I think would be a good way of putting it. But it's also about keeping things to yourself. And again, that relates very much to how you operate until you've built that trust, and then you let people in. The middle card is the Six of Pentacles. Lovely card, because it's all about generosity. And once you have read a situation and know that someone needs help, support, advice, then you're the one there who will give it. And I just want to say, generosity does not have to be financial. It doesn't have to be materialistic. It can be sharing your time. It can be sharing your knowledge, being a supportive and good friend. And your final card is Temperance, which is all about being prepared to take some risks, but not to just jump in willy-nilly. Weigh things up, which is natural for you. And providing it all feels right, then go for it. You will feel better as a result. I can assure you of that. Okay, so that's it from me for this week. I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. I'll be back next week, same place, same time, and I truly hope that you will be able to come along. In the meantime, have an absolutely phenomenal week. And all that's left for me to say is bye-bye.